gentlemen, and welcome to another fantastic weekend of Formula One racing here on the EGL Extreme Gaming League. I'm Tipsy Bob, and joining me on the mic is my trusty sidekick and my good friend, Dad Bats. Covering all the action today, we're going to be covering everywhere from Monaco, Singapore, Abu Dhabi, and Bahrain, all across the world, all across the country. We have a full grid lined up, some of the best talent around the world. We have plucked them from all corners of the earth to give you some of the greatest racing experience viewing footage you'll ever see in your lifetime. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the EGL. There we go, all the cars are all lining up on the grid. They're all getting ready. The drivers will be focusing on their first corner. Are they going to take it? What are they going to do? Is they going to go deep? Are they going to go? Who knows? Let's break down and away we go! DRS is still active, and if Timo wants to get this move done, he's gonna need to use this DRS zone because I have a feeling. Oh no, Timo comes under the pressure in the traction zone. I pressed to mount up another overtake on 23 mark. This is round 3 mark.
And Timo are oh, it's the pit. Oh no! Oh my god, this so sorry, control myself. So Timo
I wouldn't be gonna finish it too, so they can stand at the back together again, just like Timo likes it.
How many times? Did you see how many times Timo tried to get into the pit?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 2SRL. This is Tier 2, the Brazilian Grand Prix. Bit of a different voice you're hearing right now. My name is Logan Power. It's a pleasure to be here. Joining me today in the commentary box, I do have the one and only Pixel. How are you doing today, my sir?
I am very good. It's Tier 2. It's Brazil. Some new faces, some old ones. Should be good.
Definitely. Some faces, one or two faces I'm familiar with. The rest of the grid for me, it's going to be a whole new experience getting to know some of these drivers. And let's not talk about the almost mess up with the start of today, as we had just before we started.
We don't talk about that.
No, we don't talk about those things here. So we're currently 13 minutes left in this qualifying session. The drivers have had the chance to get out and start setting their qualifying laps. Everyone seems to be right now out in the soft, which is the smart strategy. We don't know what the weather's gonna be like at the moment. It's dry qualifying, of course. However, there is a big chance on this track that there could be rain. So we can hope for the best that it isn't that. I mean, it would make the race a little bit more exciting. I don't know about you, but a little bit wet here and there doesn't hurt. We've been informed actually that it is going to be a dry race. So for all you ones watching from home that is was looking forward to a little bit of a slip and slide, it is not your lucky day. So looking
Yeah, but it will still be a slip inside because of Sector 2, but you know, that's fine. That's fine.
All right, definitely. So going through here, we currently have 14 drivers on the grid. We have 1 or 2 reserves have come in today. Currently, looking at the qualifying times, we do have Bryson, the Ferrari, is holding on to pole with a 1:69 currently. Not a bad time at all. And today, I think it is Justin that in the Mercedes that actually needs to score 11 points this race to secure the constructors for the Mercedes team.
Yeah, something like that. Justin has the advantage. Jonah not really particularly interested in taking part anymore. His life situation has changed, so he's not. I believe that's the story anyway. So he's not super committed to F1 right now. So it's Justin's championship to lose, but still, it's not over yet.
Definitely,
something could still happen yet. So.
Yeah, who knows? There could be a bit of a return because, as we know, the points were very close. I was looking at the standings before we hopped in here, and there was definitely a fight going on between Jonah and Justin for the drivers' championship. I was quite excited to see how that would turn out, but unfortunately, as with the turn of events that you've mentioned, we might not get to see that fight that we want. But I would love to see it come back for Abu Dhabi. And maybe get to fight it out there. So the next person right now to go on a lap actually right now is going to be the Renault. It's just Vinny who's currently in P7. Pixar, do you want to run us through a little bit of how he's doing so far?
Yeah, so maybe took a little bit too much curb on the exit of turn 3, which might cost him a little bit, but it's still a reasonable sector 1, 16.5. That's about where you'd expect it to be. Good run up the hill. Take as much curve of this as you can. You want to hold the brakes a bit longer so you can stamp on the power earlier. Get a good run in. Locked up a little bit, but he still found the apex. Doesn't run the curve through the left-hander. That might cost him a little bit, but he kept it going. Drive off this corner is really important. Keeps it in second. This is the apex again. So definitely some time to be found here. Down to Junsao. Didn't use all of the track, and locking up again. It's a bit of a scrappy second part of the lap for Vinny here, but on the run down to the line. DRS wide open. Going to take the tightest run to the line as is possible, right up against the wall, and despite the scrappiness, it's still a 7.1, so all things considered, a pretty decent lap, and time to be found as well.
Definitely, so that's going to be moving him up into P3 so far. We're coming up to about 9 minutes left in the qualifying session, and with being informed that this is going to be a dry race, the optimal strategy of course will be just a soft to medium one stop, but can we expect to see any of the drivers outside the top 10 trying to flip that around and maybe even start on the mediums earlier on?
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a really good strategy, especially if you can hold on to the DRS train, because there's not a huge gap in the pace between the softs and the mediums, so if you can hang on to the DRS of the soft runners, you're going to be rapid at the end of the race. Speaking of which, Dragon, 7.2 on the mediums. That's a really good lap. Crystal 6.8 takes the provisional pole.
Definitely. So with Dragon currently being in the McLaren in P6 on the mediums, that's going to put him in a really good position, as we just mentioned about those outside of the top 10 going for the possibly going for the medium to soft strat. If he's able to hold on so far up the grid while starting on mediums, he could be in for a really good race. And as you said, he'd be rapid towards the end with the softs. He could actually be looking for he could flip this completely around and maybe even come home with a win here.
Yeah, for sure. Like, Dragon is, I've driven with him a number of times. He's a really quick driver, and he's really consistent as well, and usually doesn't get himself into too much trouble, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do, but definitely I wouldn't count him out.
Definitely. So some of the drivers right now, we have Alex down in P14 with a, seems to be the lowest time so far, is a 1:12.2. Definitely going to be looking to improve on that. As I get a little pop-up on my screen that Jonah has joined the session. Not sure
Yep,
what's
Jonah
going
is
on there.
Jonah is gonna race today, but I'm not sure if he's practicing. He said he doesn't have the setup, so he likely won't be too threatening. But it'll be interesting to see what he can do anyway, because he's a fast driver on merits, and I do believe he uses racing line, so that will help him a little bit in terms of getting up to pace quick.
Definitely,
So,
that will put us up to 15 drivers on the grid, and as we mentioned about the fight that's going on right now for the drivers' championship between Jonah and Justin, it'd be really great to see Jonah today in and be able to score some points. I want to see a really close fight between these guys. Other than the fight for P1, is there any kind of close tight fights that are going on so far within the or between the teams?
Well, there's not really anything major that I'm aware of. Certainly, like it's not really any outstanding rivalries from the season thus far. But, just looking at the standings, there's still plenty to be settled yet. Dragon is 5 points behind Larson, so that's going to be interesting. It's quite close there. Quite tight in the midfield as well. Tilda, 5 points off the next guy. That's NJJ, so close running there. XCXP 6 points back of Wimpy, so there's a couple of battles going on in terms of the standings. Quite close, and still 2 races left to go. So, yep, there's definitely stuff to watch.
I mean,
It's going to be interesting to keep an eye out.
With what I saw in the Discord server earlier, I did see Dragon mention that he is currently gunning for P4 in the drivers, and I do believe he's currently in P6, as you said, with Larson in front of him. But he wants to jump all the way up to push for P4. So sounds like the guy's got a lot of fight in him. He's got a lot of spirit, and he's gonna be out to show us what he can do with that. He's actually gonna be switching onto the softs as well. He was on the mediums there with his 172, which was very good, but he is going to be switching onto the softs. So with that held in mind, that he was able to do so well in the mediums, I'm excited to see if he can maybe even get in contention for a front row start.
Yeah, I've heard some people suggest that the gap between the softs and the mediums is about half a second, so that would put him right in the running for the pole. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes of this lap. And so far improving by almost a tenth in Sector 1. Sector 1 is quite short. Most of the time you're going to find it's going to be in Sector 2. So that's about where I'd expect the improvement to be. Very tight line through the uphill right-hander at turn 5. Uses all the curb in turn 6. That was quite nice. Again in turn 7. Good lines from Dragon so far. Nice and smooth on the power, no oversteer or anything. A little bit of a lock-up, didn't quite nick the apex, but he still got the drive out, so that's the most important thing. And now the final critical corner. Can he get a good drive out of here, using all the road? A little bit squirrely, but I think he's still got a good drive despite that. Might have lost a little bit of time, but still decent. And now just the run to the line. It's going to be close, it's definitely going to be a 6, and yeah, it is the pole for now, by about a half a tenth.
So very good lap by Dragon. Do you think maybe he was kind of testing the water, almost sandbagging a little bit with hopping on the mediums first, just to see where everyone was going to be able to qualify, and then sort of decide, okay, I can beat that. I'm going to throw my softs on now, and I'm going to knock this out of the park.
I think so, yeah. And Toidle going even faster by 0.002 of a second. That's really close. But there is definitely time in Dragon's lap, so he can challenge that. He probably has, well, actually it's going to be a bit tight for him to get into the pits on time, get out and do a lap, but I think he's going to be able to do it. So yeah, it's definitely not over yet.
Definitely, each of the drivers should be able to get one. Those out on track at the moment should be able to get 2 laps, I believe, down on track if that's what they're going to be gunning for. But when it comes to the race, this track can be a little bit. It can be a little bit dodgy for the overtakes, especially when you're coming into turn 1 and 2 We know if you're going to be making a pass, you want to make that on the start finish straight. That's when you want to get past your opponent with your DRS. Coming into that turn 1 and 2 can get really close for your penalties come through. And I've seen in the past with drivers really messing it up there. I mean, if we look back on our actual F1, that's where Max came into incidents with one of the other drivers as well.
Yeah, that was Ocon, I believe, in 2018. If I'm not mistaken, it was 2017 or 2018. Yeah, it is a tricky complex. Actually, I think it's probably somewhat better just to take the DRS on the start-finish straight to close yourself up on your rifle and try and get a good drive out of turn 3, get it done into turn 4, because there's a second DRS zone on a separate detection point there. So you might get the move done into turn 1, but then you're immediately vulnerable, especially if you've burned your battery to get that move done. And obviously with the dirty air, it's really advantageous if you can get the move done in turn 4 decisively, because then they have to follow you through with all that dirty air in the middle sector. So if you can get the move done in turn 4, that's a little bit more advantageous.
Definitely, because I mean, as much as you're driving behind someone, you think, okay, I can get past this guy, and I can get through, and I can really start building the pace. Being that little bit, having that little bit of extra patience can really pay off, as you explained, with the dirty air and with the separate DRS detection zone, can really mess you up coming into there. You could really gun for it, make the overtake, but then you could notice that, as you said, you've run out of resources, you've nothing left, and you're basically right back where you've started, but then with low ERS or whatever, because you've burned it all trying to make that overtake. So it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers really take it, and it's going to be interesting to see, especially on lap 1, to see who is going to be the level-headed gunners going through this, just sort of waiting, settling in, and then getting ready to make their moves, and who's going to be the aggressor, who's going to really launch into that turn 1. It is going to be hectic, I do believe. That turn 1 off that start is going to be crazy, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of contact going into this race as well off of that. So it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers take it. We have 15 drivers on the grid. We're going to see who is going to be level-headed, who is going to be aggressive, and we're going to see who's going to really shine today.
Yeah, there's always some drama of some kind into turn 1, especially at the bottleneck of it in the late apex of turn 1, because you want to take a late apex to open up the turn 2 and turn 3 parts of the corner. But obviously, because of that, you get this sort of a concertina effect into the late corner, so suddenly there's a gap that closes right up, and then there's 2 cars in one place of the track, which never goes. So I'd expect there to be some drama, but let's see. Tier 2 has been pretty clean of late, so it's possible that they might get through unscathed, but that remains to be seen.
Definitely. So Crystals has retired from the session, quite happy. He said a 1.6, if I can see it properly, a 1.67, and is quite happy with that time. Doesn't think there can be too much improvement made with the time remaining, of course. It's retiring from the session. It's now going to be up to Toyd and Dragon, whom I believe are on laps right now, to see if they can best. A lot of the drivers now kicking back to get ready for the race here.
Yeah, Toydle is improving by over 2/10, so this is going to be a really good lap. Dragon improved in the first sector. Let's see what his second sector is, but Toydle on the run down to the line. DRS open, right to the wall. And yeah, that's a 6.5, that's provisional, but Dragon might have something to say, and he's lost time in the second sector, so yeah, probably not going to find 3/10 in the final sector, but maybe he can still jump Crystals. And in fact, he can't. Not quite.
Definitely.
So, Toydle on the pole.
And our last driver to be coming across the line, not going to be setting a... I don't believe, no, not going to be improving on time at all. That's XTXP. So it looks like we have our grid locked up. We have Toyd on pole right now. Crystal's coming in at P2. Dragon squeezing in there, P3, followed by Bryce in the Ferrari in P4, and then Justin in P5. Jonah didn't actually manage to set a time, so either wasn't able to get in, get set up, get ready to go and get a lap set, Or are we looking at a possible last to first challenge? You know, just see how we do, minimal practice, let's just hit it, rock on, and hopefully see what we can pull out the bag.
Well, he joined mid-session, so actually doing some qualifying is kind of irrelevant because the bug is still there. Where if you join mid-session for qualifying, you still start at the back of the grid because Codemasters are very much living up to their name of being masters of code. Definitely. So in some ways, it's better to save the tires for the race and to maybe study some of the competitors out there, see what lines they're running, how they're attacking the track, and try and learn something for your approach in that way.
Definitely. So
maybe that's the strategy, yeah.
So coming into this, we do have a Ferrari on pole. Justin, I would think, would have wanted to quali a little bit higher to you know, really bring it home today for the Mercedes. A few drivers actually I do know here, with most of them being new to me, being new to the TSRL. I do know Tiled and Elfster, who are Elfster's a bit more of a buddy of mine. I know Tiled from bit to bit. I know they're both really good drivers, so I have high expectations for them personally, knowing what they're capable of. But I'm really excited to see the talent that that's 2SRL has to offer here in Tier 2. Getting ready now for all the drivers to load in, line up on the grid, and get ready for their formation lap in this Brazilian Grand Prix.
Yeah. So dry race, as we said already. So the strategy, well, obviously for the top 10 all qualifying on softs, it's probably going to be soft medium. Unless there's an early safety car, they might decide to go with the hards. But there might be the couple at the back running the counter strategy medium to soft, which makes you absolutely rapid at the end. So it's going to be interesting to see what the drivers decide on in that case.
I mean, as well as that, as I mentioned before, it also comes down to how patient the drivers are going to be as well. You know, if those guys outside the top 10 are going to be starting on those mediums and are going to be running those on a little bit longer to get that extra pace, that extra jump at the end, they're going to also want to be careful. They don't really want to get into any unnecessary fights or anything that can really throw them off, because, as you said, that strategy can be really advantageous here. So I can see them being a little bit more patient. Whereas our front runners here will definitely be wanting to gun ahead and just try to build a gap as much as possible. See where we can get with that. So Toyd is leading right now the formation lap. It's quite interesting front row. We have a Ferrari at the front, followed by an AlphaTauri, and then a McLaren, and then another Ferrari.
Yeah, very realistic. Something to point out in reference to the strategy, we did talk about the counter strategy. It's actually just Jonah running the counter strategy on the mediums. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing on this formation lap right now. I guess he's waiting so he can kind of gun the middle sector a bit to put some temperature in his tires. Maybe that's what he's doing there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. Of course, he's the only medium runner, so he's going to want to attack some of the slower soft runners straight off, and then try and latch onto the DRS of some of the faster guys.
Definitely. So
that's going to be really critical to his strategy.
I think what his main job really will be, as you said, to get past the slower ones. He'll want to get past Alex and Alec, the Racing Point and the McLaren, as quickly as possible. Possibly even make a move for Tiled and Elfster, and then, like you said, just sort of latch on to the DRS and just sort of get himself dragged along until it then gets up to the point when they pit, and then he really gets to push for when it comes round to his pit stop. All the drivers now are getting ready. They're lining up on the grid. It's going to be 36 laps of absolute glory. The lights are heading on. I'm not entirely sure about this angle right now, but the lights are on. They are out. We're holding a little bit. Codemasters, thank you. I love you. And we are underway. The Tier 2 2SRL Brazilian Grand Prix. Toyd gets quite a decent start, followed by the Ferrari of Bryce moving all the way up into P2. Crystal holding position right now.
Great start from Bryce. Crystal is a little bit compromised though. Dragon's going to attack him. Burn a little bit of battery. Crystal's got the inside, but Dragon's got the drive.
Definitely.
Is he going to hang around the outside? Yes, he is, but he's going to get pushed off. Manages to maintain the position. Justin should have capitalized on that, but didn't. A little bit tardy in that respect from Justin, maybe just wanting to play it safe with the championship. It was definitely an opportunity there.
Could
The two Ferraris have broken away from Dragon a little bit. The gap is 1.1 now.
Yeah, and as we say, with the so the Ferraris have broken away, Dragon's now holding in third. Jonah has done exactly what he's needed to do thus far. He's moved all the way up into P12 right now on those mediums, so he's going to be wanting to gain as much as possible as he's latched on right now, right behind Elfster in the Mercedes. He's going to be looking for that.
Oh, Wimpy's around though, and he manages to avoid that. Just about.
That is going to
unlucky for Elfster.
That's going to be Wimpy and Elfster both spun around there. I'm not entirely sure what the damage would be like for these drivers if any of them manage to pick up any, if it be minimal. Doesn't look like it to seem there, but now there's a fight going on between Jonah and Tiled as we're coming through. It seems like Jonah's gotten past Tiled a little bit on the easier side.
Yeah, kind of caught him napping really. The problem now that Jonah has is he's 1.8 seconds behind, but maybe if people bunched up in the middle sector, he might gain some of that time back. He's going to want to do it this lap so he can latch onto the DRS, because once they start running the DRS, it's going to be much harder for him to catch on to them if he doesn't get there in time.
Definitely. He needs to close that gap as quickly as possible because, as we know, he's on the mediums right now, but he's still under attack from Todd in the Red Bull, and also Alec in the McLaren. You know, they're not letting him get away. They're not giving him the chance to really pull up into those medium runners. So he's got to really be pushing now through this last sector to make up as much time as possible as we're getting ready for the DRS to be opened up.
Yeah, so crucially up front, Dragon and Crystals have gotten back in touch with the Ferraris. I thought they did, but Dragon has made a big mistake, and now he's suddenly well off the back of them. And really compromised. Crystals is going to go for it and get the job done. And gets the DRS to boot, so that's a pretty secure position for Crystals.
Definitely, he moves up into P3. He has used a considerable amount of ERS though as well. It's going to be a little bit tricky now for Dragon as we go through the second sector. As you mentioned before with the dirty air, it's going to be a little bit troublesome. But he's definitely going to be looking for the move as soon as they get right back out onto the start-finish straight. But the Ferraris right now are gunning ahead. You know, Bryce is really latching on to Toyd right now, but there's a whole 2.3 seconds separating them from Crystals and Dragon right now.
Yeah, they've just put their head down and avoided all the squabbling really from P3 backwards, and that's paid huge dividends to them. So Bryce getting a little bit closer, and he's got the DRS as well now, so he might decide to challenge down into turn 4, as I had talked about. Nice and close now, 3.5 tenths. How's the drive going to be? Not quite as good as Toidle, so Toidle's going to be safe for now. Bryce is just going to hang on to the back of him. And Dragon looking to come back, but he's had another scrappy turn 3, so nothing doing there.
Didn't manage to get close enough to him to try to make any sort of move there. And while all this is going on at the front, there's been quite a turn of events at the back, as we saw Wimpy and Elfster had their little spin around. Alex actually headed off the track just in the last sector here before the straight, and that actually ended up with him surrendering the positions both to Elfster and Wimpy, who are about 5 seconds now from the rest of the grid, so they're gonna have to try to make that up as much as possible. Neither of them have pitted yet, so I don't think the damage that was done to the cars was too major, if at all. Maybe it was just a little bit of a slide around.
Yeah, I think so. It was a fairly low energy impact, really. It was just kind of tagging, you know, kind of front right tire to left rear tire contact, and that just put them around. But it was pretty low speed, low energy, so not really enough to do damage, especially on reduced damage. So they should be fine in that respect, but obviously a loss of time and maybe a little bit of wear on their tires.
Exactly, and as we mentioned with Dragon trying to keep up with Crystals right now, he has to be careful because Justin in the Mercedes is getting very, very close. He was on the DRS with him there, and he's really sticking with them. So Dragon wants to get past Crystals as fast as possible, but he really needs to get it done as quick as he possibly can, because Justin is on the hunt right now in the Mercedes. He's really getting closer and closer at every corner. And I could see a possible overtake as we get through to the end of Sector 3.
Yeah, especially with Dragon seeming to struggle a little bit in turn 3, he might end up making himself a little bit vulnerable to Justin's attack. And yeah, they might both have DRS, but if you have a far superior drive and you deploy a little bit of battery, being stuck in the DRS train isn't really going to matter a whole pile.
They seem to be quite equal on the ERS as well at the moment. Justin having just a little bit more in the reserves. He's not going to be using much of it here to try to close up. He's playing the smart move. He's just closing the gap to the driver in front. He's getting ready now for the next DRS zone. Maybe he's seen that Dragon's struggling a little bit through this part, and he's going to be looking for it. But he's just not quite there yet. You know, he's pushing,
yeah.
he's getting as close as he can, but he's just not quite there to be able to make any sort of move. Elfstar is going to be picking up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limit. It's going to be unfortunate for him. I think also Alec has picked up one as well.
Yeah, the same for him. Something to note there, it looked on that lap like Dragon had tidied up his turn 3 a lot, which is probably goes a long way to explain why Justin didn't really make any inroads on that straight. So still a Linus turn for now.
So it seems like we've got a little bit of a train going on right now, with Crystals leading that in P3, followed by Dragon, Justin, and then Vinny is in there as well. Eddie's about 1.6 back, so he's going to be looking to close that as quick as possible, as Bryce is going to be making a move on Toyd right now into turn 1, down the inside.
Yeah.
Almost
kind of
missed
caught
it.
Toydle napping, and that's really compromising, so even though he'll have the DRS, it won't matter for Bryce because he executed that move to perfection. Pulled off a block pass, so no danger for him. And focus on the run down to turn 4 and then through the middle sector. Just focus on recuperating some charge and then preparing for the next attack from Toydle.
So it seems so far with this train going on, none of them have had any kind of luck with getting past one another, with it being a bit of a train right now, as Justin gets just that little bit closer to Dragon. Was really close, almost to the point of contact there, in with the rear.
Yeah, just the concertina effect in Sector 2, it's quite severe, so you have to kind of be careful, and that's where you start tripping over people and losing time. So Justin, it's gonna have to be a case of luck but don't touch for now.
Yeah, and Justin does actually have the ERS advantage as well on Dragon, as Dragon locks up a little bit there going into turn 1, almost compromising himself.
Yeah.
But that's going to set Justin up for quite a decent run. He's seen that, he's going to take advantage. He's using his ERS now, and he's going to be looking for the move.
Yeah, Dragon's going to tell him to go the long way around, but he's got it done even before the braking zone. Yeah, Dragon just... the same mistake we were talking about, that same critical mistake through turn 3, just really compromising the run.
Exactly, that little bit of a lockout
that mistake
cost him a lot of time. Justin was able to take advantage of that perfectly, and as you said, got past the driver even just before the braking zone. So no danger at all. Got the move done, moved up into P4. He's going to be happy, and next on his list is going to be Crystals.
Yeah, especially when you're battling in DRS train, it's worth it to compromise and sacrifice turns 1 and 2 if it means you get a good run off turn 3, because the most important thing is to defend against the run on the straight. That's the single most critical point here, because that's the only way you overtake here. So if you can defend that, it doesn't matter how slow you are in the corners, they won't get past. Dragon's just... I think he's focusing a little bit too much on trying to defend the here and now, and just running in too deep. And he's done it again, he's made a massive mistake. Let Vinny through and fallen off the back of the train. Yeah, Dragon really struggling.
Definitely doesn't manage to pick up any damage there, but he really compromised at the exact same spot where he just seems to be having trouble. That's going to be Vinny moving up into P5, Dragon moving down into P6, and that's going to be opening it up for Eddie right now, as he's going to be getting to latch on now to Dragon to pick up that DRS, and then maybe even get closer and closer to that frontal pack. As we look, Bryce and Toyd increasing their lead to almost 3 seconds so far. So they're really gunning right now. They're really trying to make that gap while they know that there's a bit of a scrap going on just behind them.
Yeah, so running really strongly right now, the two Ferrari cars. kind of DRSing each other really by the looks of things. They're swapping around a bit, but they're not costing each other too much time in doing it, which is really the important thing to know. Dragon's had an off at the final corner and spun around, so it's going from bad to worse for Dragon.
It's gonna be dropping.
Why couldn't you have done that yesterday in SLR? I mean, come on.
Stealing my points, man.
I'm sensing a little bit of bad blood. That is going to be Dragon into the pits. Could be looking. Could we see him pitting onto a set of hards right now, or is he going to try for a some mediums? It's actually going to be a retirement.
No, he's retired. Yeah.
From Dragon. He's been struggling same spot throughout this race. It's just been unfortunate. It's possibly got to him a little bit, and that's going to be him for this session. Very unfortunate. Was looking at a decent race.
Yeah, kind of strange to see that on my end, to be honest, because I drove with him yesterday in SLR Tier 1, and he was driving much more consistently yesterday than he was today, not making any of the silly mistakes. And generally, you'd expect, with the benefit of more running, that you'd be more consistent, that you'd find that little bit more time, but clearly the opposite taking place for whatever reason today.
I mean, you know, every person's different. For some people, you know, less is more. Just checking right now, Bryce has actually picked up a penalty right now as he moves up into pole here. So that's going to be quite unfortunate. The Ferrari's going side by side as they head out through here. Really working together on this. Really a bit of a team effort. And we can actually start to notice as well, while the Ferraris are holding such a strong lead at the moment, Crystals and Justin have moved a little bit ahead from Vinny, which is not going to be out of DRS, and then also Eddie is going to be dropping back. So we're at that point now. We're at lap 11 so far. There's been a lot of scrapping back and forth, but now the grid is really starting to gap out a little bit and sort of sink into where it's going to be so far.
Yeah, something to note. I saw there was a little bit of a wheel-to-wheel on the straight down to turn 4 with the Ferraris, and I saw shades of 2019 for a moment. Please don't do that. That would not be ideal.
Definitely not, especially since we haven't seen such a strong performance from a pair of Ferraris in a while.
Yeah. I mean, the last time a Ferrari went this fast, it was stuck in Valtteri Bottas's barge boards in Imola. So let's see them back up there.
Did they ever hand that back? Like I always wondered, did they yank it out of the car and walk down to the Ferrari box and say, hey, I think you dropped something. This might belong to you.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know what the procedure is with returning or scrapping carbon fiber. Maybe they sold it on eBay for like 100 quid. Someone would have bought it.
I mean, hey, put a signature on it, and you know it's used straight off of an F1 car. I'm sure someone will purchase it.
Yeah,
A lot of Seb 5 fans out there.
Bet a pretty penny for that.
So right now, the closest thing we've got going on right now, Justin's still holding on to Crystals in the AlphaTauri, really just sticking with them, and you know, just trying to stay there and sort of get with the DRS with him, just latch on and hopefully just look for that little move that's going to open up for him. Further down the grid, we do actually have Tiled, which is on Jonah, who's moved all the way up into P9 right now on his mediums. He's actually currently on the tail of Larson as well.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing for Jonah, though, the field is spread out so much that
He is going to move forward with the benefit of a strategy, probably a couple of positions, but he's not really going to challenge the top 5 or 6, most likely, unless he has a real turn of pace. So I expect him to move forward, but don't expect him to challenge for the win at this point, unless there's a safety car, I would say.
Definitely. I mean, with the strong performance we've seen from the Ferraris, really making that gap, and like you said, with the whole field really just starting to gap out, it's slimming down the chances. I think you're pretty much right. I can see him moving up into P7 and possibly fighting with possibly, depending if, like you say, he gets that change of pace when he gets onto the soft and maybe goes to attack Eddie a little bit.
Yeah, that's certainly within the realms of possibility. Certainly what I see happening, but I think it's going to be difficult for him to challenge the Vinnies and the Justins and the Crystals, and definitely not the Ferraris. But all remains to be seen yet. There's still over halfway to go in the race.
So the closest one right now is this little streamer watching right now. Tald is at the back of it. He's holding on tight to Jonah right now, just managing to stay with him, who is then managing to stay with Larson. It'll be exciting to see if Tald could sort of get in a little bit of a scrap with Jonah. I mean, the softs will be starting to green a little bit, start to die out. We're 13 laps in on them, but I'm sure there's that little bit there to get a real scrap going on with Jonah. I mean, in about a lap or two, the mediums are really going to come to life for him, and I would expect a pit stop for him around...
I would say probably lap 21, lap 22 around then.
I was thinking 22
top
myself.
runners should start to pit anytime now. Yeah, so we're getting into the pit window now for sure. Alec and Elster actually just pitted this lap for hards. Probably should have gone mediums because they can definitely make it from here. But, obviously the hards are a safe bet. Will be a little bit slow though. But yeah, from any time here on out, I expect to see the soft runners pitting, and then probably around lap 21, lap 22, we should expect Jonah in for his fresh set of boots.
I mean, the thing is as well, how are the Ferraris going to take this? I mean, they're running so close together, they're going to have to send one in first, and then the next lap send in the other. They can't possibly both get into the pits right now. That would be a double stack. They would lose a lot of time with that. So I'm wondering if there's going to be any kind of team orders come through. Is Bryce going to get to go in first, or is it going to be Toyd?
Well, Toyd's in first, so he has the high ground essentially. He'll probably want to take the earliest stop to get the undercut, but I would suspect that Bryce is going to do opposite of Toydle this lap. So if Toydle stays out, expect Bryce in.
Definitely. And further down the field, when we see Crystals and Justin, they're still together. I say that as Crystals is actually going to be heading into the pits. So that is actually going to be...
as well.
So that's Bryce, Crystals, and Justin are going to be our first of the front runners to head into the pits. It's going to be Toyd coming around in the next lap to set on. All these drivers should be going on to a fresh set of mediums to finish out the rest of the room. Definitely confusing why Elster, Alex, and Alec went on to the hards.
Yep, maybe just following the direction from Jeff, but like definitely you would have noticed by now. I'm sure anyone who league races semi-regularly in competitive fields, the strategy Jeff suggests is oftentimes not the optimal and doesn't really reflect what the tire wear actually is. So soft medium is definitely the better way to go.
I mean, you can never really truly trust Jeff, can you?
Pretty much never, yeah.
So now with these soft runners heading in, setting on their fresh set of mediums, now is the time for Jonah to really push it. You know, he's on 15 lap old mediums. He'll be pushing to around about lap 21, 22, like you said, and his tires should really be coming to life now. So he's still holding on to Larson. He should be able to get past him fairly soon. Larson should possibly even be looking to come into the pits here, and that'll be giving Jonah a little bit of clean air. As we do see
so
Larson
he's got
heading
the
in.
battery, he's got fuel, so he's going to push now and try and create as much opportunity as possible for himself to make the job a little bit easier once he gets onto the softs.
So
XCXP has continued on though. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing there. He's almost at half distance on softs, which is a questionable strategy.
I was gonna say he must be he has to be losing time. Those have to be dropping off a lot. So I'm not sure what the strat is for him. I mean, when we look, Bryce and Toyd aren't too far behind Jonah right now. He's really not in the best of positions, in my opinion.
Yeah, as Alec B retires, he had a spin in the final sector. Not enjoying those hards, definitely made the wrong choice. Alex has had some kind of trouble as well, because he's well off the back of Elster. Not entirely sure what's plagued him in this race. Just not really been a feature much, to be honest. So yeah, XCXP finally pitting, so Jonah will inherit the lead, albeit not for long because the two Ferraris are bearing down on him. Bryce with the advantage thanks to that undercut.
Definitely. So as you mentioned, with the way the field, a few laps ago, the field was sort of spreading out and stuff. I think this is really where it starts to show. I mean, Jonah started on the counter strat and did start to work his way up through the grid, but got held up in a bit of a train. And as we see, the Ferraris who were able to really dart on ahead and get the most out of what they had are hot on his heels, and I wouldn't be surprised now in the next couple of laps when I wouldn't be surprised to see the Ferraris both head on past Jonah and say have a nice day.
Yep. I'm expecting Jonah to come out somewhere around the P9, P10 mark, but obviously he's going to have a huge amount of pace on the soft tires versus bedded in mediums, so he's going to work his way forward a couple of seconds. Probably to P8, maybe even P7.
I mean, I can definitely see a P8 working for him, and you know, it sort of depends on Eddie here as well, because he's about 2 seconds out from Vinny, and he's going to be looking to cut that down as quickly as possible. Otherwise, that will be he will be in a dangerous position for that.
Yeah, drawn out briefly the meets in Ferrari Sandwich, but both the Ferraris make it by. I shuffled down to P3. Not net P3, obviously, with a lack of pit stop so far, but the Ferrari's free and clear now. We've got a good gap back to Crystals.
I look away for a second and everything happens. I was going to say I'm going to take a little moment so we can have a little look over to see what the penalties are looking like. So Bryce actually with a 3-second time penalty. So currently leading the race, he's going to really want to push on now and start to create a bit of a lead going on. Eddie also actually has a 3-second time penalty, so that's going to work really well for Jonah. As you said, he could come out around the P9, P10. And speaking of P10, Wimpy also has a 3-second, Elfster with 6, and Alex with 6 as well. So I could definitely see Jonah coming away with a P7 here.
Yeah, certainly a strong likelihood for multiple points. Yeah, the P7, especially with those penalties, is definitely ripe for the taking. Whether he can do it or not is the question.
So the next person now to be coming up on Jonah is actually Crystals, who has managed to pull quite a gap on Justin. Justin is now 2 seconds behind Crystal, who was in the first stint was completely trailing him. They were inseparable. So Crystal has managed to create that gap, and it seems to be only increasing as well. So he's going to be looking to get past Jonah as quick as possible and really just keep that gap growing. Not entirely sure what's going on with Justin right now. Maybe he's just taking a little bit longer to warm up those mediums and really get them sticking to the track.
Yeah, well, I drove with Justin yesterday in SLR, and obviously he's got decent pace. He's a fast driver. He's fighting for the championship, of course, but it does seem like he's been struggling a little bit in Brazil, so maybe just not entirely comfortable with the setup or the tires or just generally the feeling of the car at this point in the race.
Definitely, and you'll have to forgive me as well. I'm still getting used to the whole thing where we have the SLR, the 2SRL, all in with the EGL, the way all that works. So still kind of confusing to me, being a little bit newer to it. As we actually see, Jonah is heading into the pits now. So lap 21, you were pretty accurate with that, and it's going to be interesting now to see where he's going to be coming out.
Yep, so 16 laps to do on the soft tires. He actually changed his wing as well, which is going to have cost him about 5 seconds, which is going to make the fight back a little bit harder. Didn't see where he got the damage, probably in the battle with the Ferraris, I would guess. But let's see what his pace is now. Coming up P11, just behind Larson. He's going to have some serious pace from here on out.
Most likely. I mean, that little scuffle with the Ferrari, we were looking at him possibly coming out of the pits in about P9, P10 maybe, but he's actually forced down that extra. So he's got a lot of fighting to do. But as you said, with the the pace difference is going to be tremendous. And he's just, if he does it right, he'll be able to sort of cut through the field, make short work of it. But that all depends on him.
Yep. Just something to point out. As in qualifying, so too in the race, the two of the fastest laps so far, separated by just 0.02 of a second. Bryce currently holding the fastest lap, 9.414. Toil P2, the second fastest lap, 9.416.
That is very tight. As we see the Ferrari's going wheel to wheel again, as Toyd's going out a little bit wide. Bryce trying to make a move on the inside there with them, using a little bit of a ZRS, expending it. They're getting really close together. These guys are really out for blood today.
Yep, insanely even matchup. And actually, Hammer just pointing out in chat, Doidle has just picked up a penalty. Crystals has nothing, and they're fighting Hammer and Tongs.
Could potentially cost themselves a lot of time and really bring Crystals into this for the race win.
That could cost them a lot if they're going to continue fighting like this. I mean, you know, I get they're going back and forth and they are racing each other, but from a team perspective, as well with that, that is just going to cost them a lot of time. And with both of them picking up those penalties, if they keep this up, yeah, Crystals is going to be able to, you know, really move up on them. And, you know, with no penalties at all himself, he has a chance.
Yeah, for sure.
And looks like with this...
the gap is coming down to 3 seconds to the leader. It's under 3 seconds now. So now, effectively, Crystals is leading the Grand Prix.
Definitely, and it doesn't seem like they're letting up. As Bryce pulled to the outside there, he was using his ERS, got the DRS wing wide open, headed down the inside. They were wheel-to-wheel once more, and it seems like they don't plan on letting this up.
No, definitely not. Like, really, whoever is behind at this point, so Total, should realize there's more to play for here than being the lead Ferrari. Because Crystals is coming with a vengeance. He doesn't have penalties, he's not making mistakes, and this fighting is bringing him closer and closer every lap.
I mean, within a sector there, I think he gained about 0.3 on them. So he's really gunning for it right now, and the gap is only closing.
Yeah, so at a certain point, they have to see a degree of sense. Like, this just can't continue.
We're going to have a look now. Bryce leading through turn 1, turn 2. Is Toyd going to be having another look here? Are they going to continue the
He's not
fight?
deploying, so I think they've begun to come to their senses.
And figure out that, hey, there's a guy coming up behind us right now, and he could very well take both of us. It's going to be a retirement for Alex as well. So that's going to be 3 drivers out of this race so far. SLR Dragon, Alec, and Alex. Not a good day for the McLaren team.
No, certainly not. Double DNF. They fared a little bit better in real life, although I won't spoil that. But,
I think you kind of just did with saying that.
well, I mean, I didn't say exactly how they fared. I just said they fared better than these boys.
So we have a yellow flag out in sector 1 and 2, but I'm not entirely sure what is going on.
So what's happened there is Alex has retired in the pits, but there is a bug for some reason lately where even if you retire in the pits, the car is taken over by AI. Doesn't stop in the pit lane, but continues on out the pit lane and then pulls to the side of the track.
Come on, Cody's. Help us out. Help me help you. You know, we can't be having this kind of behavior. You know, can we get the FIA on the line to get them to come to their senses? Speaking of coming to their senses, I think the Ferraris maybe have. I mean, Crystals is still on the gun right now. He's still gaining time. He's only 2.3 out from the Ferraris. They don't seem to be scrapping as much. They seem to be, you know, sort of setting in line and starting to push forward. But I can't speak too soon, as they very well could be doing the exact same over and over again. Speaking of gaps, Justin has actually fallen back from Crystals a little bit more, so that gap's going to be opening up to 3 seconds, and Vinny's going to be behind him by 3 seconds. The grid is really starting to spread out. The closest thing we have right now, Jonah is on the charge. He is up into P10 right now, and Wimpy is the next one in his sights.
Yeah, both Wimpy and Tilda with penalties as well, so Jonah more or less has the 2 of them at this point.
I mean, we're on lap 26. There's 10 laps to go. He gets past Wimpy here. He's gonna have about 2 seconds, or 3 to 4 seconds to make up on Tiled here. If he can get up to X2P or XTX, and he can get pushing there, he could be in a chance to score a little bit higher than what he had maybe even hoped for. but that's all going to depend on how he's going to take the obstacles ahead. He's looking for the move on Wimpy. He's jumping down the inside, seems to make the move look very well, but Wimpy's going to be staying real close to him. He's really looking for that gap.
Yeah, a little bit of a nudging there. Would be able to fight that a lot harder than I expected he would, and possibly a bit harder than he really should have. But still, the move done for Jonah, rather delaying the inevitable more than anything really for Wimpy there. So now Jonah's setting after Tilda.
So it's going to be 3.4 seconds he's going to have to make up. Place your bets. How many laps do you think it's going to take before he's going to be able to cut that down?
Not very long at all, I would expect. I would say maybe 5-6 laps and he'll be right on the back of Tilda.
So, I mentioned about a lap or two ago about these two Ferraris, about them coming to their senses, and I think I was wrong because they're still going at it, and Toyd has managed to get past.
Contact there. Yeah.
That little
And
bit of
Luke is
contact has
getting-
cost them a lot because Bryce has picked up another 3-second time penalty. That's 6 seconds, and if we look, Crystals is within 2 seconds of them right now. He's well in his right to take Bryce. All he has to do now is keep on the charge, and he'll be able to possibly even take Toyd as well.
Yeah, and they're starting to fight dirty now. Like, Toy just turning in on Bryce in the middle sector there multiple times. Like, this is getting a little bit out of hand now. It's not what you wanted to see.
Especially,
FIA will be taking a little bit of a look at this.
I mean, I would see a little bit of dirtier racing between rivals. Obviously, not to a crazy extent, but I wouldn't expect to see this between teammates. You know, I mean,
well,
I'm not sure how the communication goes down in the Ferrari team, but I definitely wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to be in their engineer's position right now. I can just say that.
yeah, well, Bryce is driving for himself. He is a reserve after all, but still, like, even so, there are rules to racing. You can't just say hell for leather, tell the consequences, screw yourself and potentially other people over. That's just, it's not a smart way to drive, and it doesn't really get anyone particularly far. It does definitely benefit Crystals though, and maybe even Justin, who is within range of Bryce, considering Bryce has 6 seconds of penalties.
He's also technically, when you look at it as well, he also is in range of Toyd right now as well. Toyd does have a 3-second time penalty, so he is within range to jump both of them. He just needs to not let up right now. He's going to be looking to cut that under the 2 seconds, just to be in the safe zone, to jump the Ferraris. And it looks like you were right. Jonah has cut the gap down to under 2 seconds already on Tilda. He's really on the charge right now. Up into P9 so far, gunning for P8.
Yeah, and he has it on correct time, but obviously if he can get it on track, you want to, because that really just seals the deal, because you can say, you know, whatever about penalties, I was definitely the faster or drove the better, whatever way you want to put it. So he'll be looking for the move. It's XTXP, it might be a little bit of a challenge at this point to get to him, because the softs are going to start to wear off a little bit. The edge grip won't be quite so prevalent now.
I mean, he's just over or just about 1 second behind Tal right now, and then after that he's got just under 3 seconds to catch for XTX, and there's just about 6 to 7 laps left of this race. So it's gonna be tight, but as you said, the softs are gonna start to drop off very soon, and there's still plenty of life left in XTXP's mediums.
Yeah, so it's certainly possible, but if I was a betting man, I wouldn't put much money down on it. And John has made a big mistake, big snap for him there, so that's going to make it even more difficult. And he's in the wall.
And it is going to be a
Jonah
forced retirement, and it's going to be
it.
a safety car is coming out right now.
Yeah, so this really screws over the two boys in the Ferraris. Crystals would be rubbing his hands and thanking the gods for this.
100%. He hasn't picked up any penalties so far, and this is exactly what he needs. It very unfortunate for Jonah sliding through there, and sector 1 turn 4 roughly, I think it was, where he just sort of caught it and headed into the wall, but the safety car is going to be out, and as we can see, the Ferraris now are going to be jumping into the pits. They're going to be getting the softs on. I think every driver
Bryce is going to
on
be
the grid.
held. Bryce is going to be held because he's right behind Toidl.
This is going to be very bad for them because Crystals is in the pits now too, and I think Crystals might be able to most likely get ahead of Bryce here because of the time he's being held.
Yeah, and just being held there is going to add insult to injury with those penalties as well for Bryce. So it's gone from the dream start of the great quality to suddenly all falling apart.
Yeah, so speaking of getting jumped, Bryce is actually getting jumped not only by Crystals, but by Justin as well. Eddie stays out, doesn't plan to pit at the moment, so Toyd on the fresh off is going to be first in line behind the safety car, followed by Eddie on his 14-lap old mediums, the only one not to pit. Crystal's following behind in the perfect position. You know, every driver in front of him right now has penalties. The only other driver he has to worry about right now is if he can keep Justin at bay.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say Crystals has definitely demonstrated more pace than Justin has. So if you had to bet on one or the other of them taking the win, you would say it was Crystals.
100%.
Eddie with an interesting strategy though. Well done the order, and with that penalty, so deciding to stay out. Realistically, there's probably only going to be 3 green flag laps left. So this is probably the best decision Eddie can make at this point, considering he was down in, it was P7.
Yeah, so he's going to be jumping all the way up to P2. So I would think the safety car will be coming in at the end of lap 32 here. Maybe later, but I would think at the end of lap 32 here, the safety car would be wanting to come in, and it's going to be on him to really play defensive here. I would say, as you said, jumping from P7 up into P2 at the moment. If he can hold them off, there's not going to be, like you said, about 3 green light laps. So if he can hold them off, he might be looking at a good result himself.
Yeah, and of course, obviously with the safety car, we're not going to have DRS for the first 2 laps of green flag, so there might only be 1 shot on the DRS, maybe 2, so that certainly aids Eddie's cause.
Definitely, and the thing is as well though, it aids Eddie's cause, but everyone behind him right now is on fresh off soft, especially Crystals. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Crystals was able to make the fast move on Eddie just with just with the tire difference. And sort of jump up in through and really get in a bit of a fight with Toyd here.
Yeah, and then also another factor to consider, being on harder, more worn tires, Eddie is going to have a harder time keeping temperature in his tires, so the grip off the start is definitely going to be less than what Crystals is going to have. Obviously, overall will be lower, but particularly off the start.
So for Eddie right now, what he's going to want to do is he's going to want to get as much temperature into his tires. The safety car is going to be in this lap, and he cannot be caught sleeping at the wheel.
Yep, and Bryce hits Justin and gets a 5-second penalty, so going from bad to even worse.
That is
Bryce.
going to be the end of Bryce's great achievement today, and looks like the hold-up is done. Toyd is going to be starting this race. Eddie wasn't exactly caught sleeping, but wasn't the best start either.
Yeah, and Crystals and Justin getting penalties under safety car as well. So this is throwing a spanner in the works. Toyd could still get this. And Eddie's a roadblock for Crystals as well now. So this is suddenly back in Toyd's hands.
Eddie's a little bit of a roadblock for everyone coming up behind him.
Oh, and Vinny's around. Vinny's in the wall. Managed not to take anyone with him, but good restart, getting the jump on, I believe it was XTXP, suddenly falls apart.
So Vinny is going to be retiring as well. He's not going to be able to, he's not going to finish this race. We have 10 drivers left on the grid. Toyd is leading right now with a 2-second gap to Eddie, who is being followed closely by Crystals and Justin, who are going to be wanting to really get past him right now. There is 3 to 4 laps left in this race, and they need past him. If Crystals wants any real chance to take this from Toyd, he needs to get past Eddie, and he needs to get on the power.
Yeah, for sure. But, oh, and a bit of contact there, and Justin throws his nose in, but it is advantage Toggle, who now has less penalties than Crystals, less seconds of penalties than Crystals. So obviously, it's possible that someone hit Crystals and gave him that penalty that it wasn't his fault. Maybe as evidence that he can upload and report. Justin challenging around the outside, gonna make it work as well, but no. Crystals comes back, racing by the two of them.
Definitely,
No
and here comes Bryce as well, getting a little bit divey there, trying to make a little bit of a move on the outside of Justin, but the room just wasn't there for him to wrap around. And this is only getting better and better for Toyd right now. Toyd is now 3.6 seconds ahead. Eddie's in second right now, still holding up Crystals and Justin. I think at this point, lap 34 out of 36, I think it's Toyd's game.
Yeah, at this point, even if Toyd's penalty was... Crystal's penalty was removed, the gap is now too big. So it's of no consequence at this point. Crystals has kind of damned himself not getting past Eddie. Because even if he does get it removed, he's still too far away, and with 2 laps, he's not going to close a second and overtake a car.
Definitely. He does get the DRS though, and he pulls out, just trying to make a move on the inside. Not entirely sure.
Yeah, and now he's vulnerable to Justin. It's too half-hearted, he wasn't decisive enough in the maneuver, and now he's just cost himself time.
Eddie did manage to pick up another penalty there though, so I'm wondering if there's a little bit of contact there, a little bit of wheel banging going on between Justin and Crystals right now. They both won it. Justin was able to take advantage of the setback with Crystals not fully committing to the move on Eddie, but he is going to be able to fend him off for now.
Yeah, so Doyle has streaked even further away. The gap now out to 5.4 seconds, so he's grown it by nearly 2 seconds this lap, just with all the scrapping going on.
Speaking of scrapping, it looks like XTXP as well is getting ready to look for a bit of movement. It looked like there was almost a little bit of contact there. Justin getting almost too close to Crystals, a little too close for comfort. He's getting really antsy now that we're on the final lap. Toyd has gunned ahead at this moment, and a thing to note, XTXP right now doesn't have any penalties. All the drivers in front of him have penalties, so there is a possibility of him jumping, and it does look like Eddie is going to be falling back from Crystals making the move, and he is going to commit this time, and he's going to get the move done. And Justin now is going to be trying to get the move as well. Has the inside line. Smooth as butter. He's through.
Yep. So out of nowhere, this is going to be an excellent, honestly well-deserved P2 for XTXP. Didn't make any mistakes. And he's spun! So, right at the death of it. He's thrown it away.
That is not what you want to happen. So Toyd is going to come crossing.
Larson in P7 with no penalties. Suddenly going to shoot up to P2.
He did. So Toyd crosses the line, got an amazing gap of 6.4 seconds off that safety car. Couldn't be better for him. And Larson, out of nowhere, managing to jump up into P2.
Larson just has a habit of doing this with, no penalties. Not really anywhere in the race, but somehow sneaks results while everyone is picking up penalties. And does it again for a fantastic P2. XTXP would be kicking himself.
Definitely. I know if I was in his position right now, I would, the drywall would not be left in the house, I would say that. But
yeah, for sure.
Quite an exciting race we've had so far. Toyd manages to take the top step on the podium. Very unfortunate for Bryce. The Ferraris were having such a demanding lead on the in the first stint there, and even a bit further through the second. But they kept battling with each other, which really just sort of threw them back where they didn't want to be. I mean, Bryce is finishing in P10, which could have been a 1-2 for the Ferraris today.
Yeah, and I have to say, big thanks to Jonah for bringing out the safety car and absolutely turning this on its head. And for a really exciting end to the Grand Prix. Obviously, unfortunate for him, but some things are given and then some things are taken.
Definitely, it did manage to shake things up. And really flip, I did not expect this. It's going to be Toy taking home the win here today. Larson jumping up into P2. Tiled is going to be heading all the way up into P3 on the podium, followed by Crystals, who just misses out, dropping down into P4. Justin P5, Wimpy P6, followed by XTXP, Elfster, and then Eddie.
Yeah, Price taking home a point in P10, and then Vinny actually classified, but he did in fact DNF, so just 10 finishers today.
It's definitely
So,
very
point for
unfortunate.
everyone.
But
Yeah.
I think it was
For
quite
sure.
an exhilarating race, and as you said, it just flipped on its head completely when it came to the safety car.
Yep.
But what would you like to say?
So yeah, I think with that being said, maybe it's time for some interviews. But yeah, absolutely fantastic race, great to watch.
Definitely. So we'll swap it over now, and we'll see if we can get a little bit of a chat with some of the drivers.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring in Silent, otherwise known as Twiddle. So I'm just going to drag him in, and we're going to give him an interview.
Sounds like a plan.
So hello there, Silent. Are you going to stay silent?
I don't know who Silent is. All I know is Total Emos.
Oh man. But
Right, so
great,
yeah, go on ahead,
great
Bubba.
race from your point of view. A little bit of a scuffle with your teammate though. You guys were going back and forth for a lot of that race. Was that something that you think was a bit of a setback for you? I mean, all in all, coming through with the win due to the safety car and getting such a gap built in the ending laps of the race. Do you want to take us through anything that went on your end?
Honestly, at the beginning I was like, you know what, I'm gonna let this battle happen. I'm gonna use him for DRS and try to save my ERS, and that's what played out towards the end of the race. But I was a little bit peeved considering there was so much battling going on, especially once we both got 3 seconds, because the cars behind, they had a buffer in between 2 to 3.5, maybe at most. So I had to keep that in mind, and since we had no way to communicate, I had to kind of lead from behind and kind of dictate more than he would understand. So I was a little bit butthurt in that moment because I felt like we were putting a win at jeopardy. So I had to kind of play it not in a way I would normally play it, but yeah, I guess that's what you have to do without any communication. So but yeah, besides that, had there not been the safety car, I knew that when we were battling, the guy in front had just about 3 seconds margin. So what I did was, before the last 10 laps, before the safety car anyways, I was staying behind him to save ERS, and I got like about 80% or 70% at one point, and then the safety car came out right when I got ahead of him. So yeah, but I mean, I don't know about the safety car, honestly. I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, I mean, it was gonna be a 1-2 somehow or a 1-3, but then it just became a 1-9 wherever he finished.
110, I believe, and I am quite curious about it with the safety car coming out, and with obviously the battle that was going on back and forth between you and your teammate, and Crystals gaining that time without at that moment having any penalties. As soon as that safety car came out, what was on your mind?
Pit immediately to the soft tire, because I was the car in front, so I knew I was gonna get priority, and I wasn't going to get screwed over by getting held in the pits. So yeah, I just had the advantage in that moment, considering I was the car in front, and I got first strategy, and yeah.
Anything else to add to that, Pixel?
Not really. I suppose it must have been quite a surprise for you that Crystals and Justin both picked up penalties under the safety car, but
once you kind of settled down and you knew you were in front with the safety car ending, was it ever in doubt for you, or?
I treated it, the safety car restart, I treated it as if they didn't have penalties, so that's why I was trying my best to pull away in the last couple laps afterwards. I don't know why some of these guys got penalties and they were all shuffling around for the last 3 laps. I don't understand what was happening. So I just kind of tried to run away and get a minimum of 3 seconds in the case that, you know, they got their penalties appealed. So I don't know. I don't think it was a concertina effect. I don't think I kind of put them in the pack. I think I left them plenty of space for at least Eddie. I know I left Eddie a lot of space, so I don't know what was happening behind Eddie and all of that. So I tried to make sure it wasn't like a what's it called, was it Magello restart?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried.
Otherwise known as the Jensen 89 restart.
Something like that. But yeah, I tried to make
Yeah.
sure that's not what was going to happen, and I left Eddie plenty of space. I tried to make sure that the grid got plenty of space, but besides that, I couldn't control anything else that happened or pull the penalties that happened under safety car. But either way, like I said, I treated it as if those penalties weren't there, and that's why I tried to pull the gap.
Well,
Yeah.
all in all, a great result. P1 for you. Was very exciting, and was great to see you, you know, pull away at the end there and really sort of secure it for yourself a bit more. I'm excited to see what you can bring to the table in the next track, which will be Abu Dhabi. How are you feeling for that?
Honestly, it's a bit hit or miss. I think some games I've liked it, other games I don't really know. Right now it's a bit of an unknown because I haven't ran Abu Dhabi on 2020. So, but yeah, it's not a track I hate. I think I've actually enjoyed it in previous games, especially 2016. I had a really good time there on F1 2016 in Abu Dhabi. So I mean, we'll see. Yeah, I don't harbor any bad feelings or negative feelings towards it. So.
All right, good to hear. We'll watch your career with great interest.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man. So thanks for the interview, and I think we'll move on to the next one. Justin is in the chat, so we'll drag him in. Hello there.
Hola.
So maybe let's just talk first about the end of the safety car. What happened in terms of that penalty? Can you talk us through it?
Well, I think it's just simply that I was warming up my tires, and then Bryce came in a little bit too hot, and then I didn't feel an impact, but he must have scrubbed me a bit, and that gave me a 5-second time penalty, and him as well, I think. And then also same thing, Crystal hit Eddie, and he got the 5 seconds, so did Eddie. So I'll leave it to the FIA to decide, but I'm pretty sure, hopefully, my 5-second goes, and I can get my P2. So I don't know what happens there.
Yeah, in any case, given you got hit from behind and Eddie did as well, I would expect if you have recordings of it that those will be removed. It's pretty standard practice from the FIA. So pending review P2. So you must be pretty happy with that, and obviously Jonah crashing out. So that's probably the championship sealed at this point, I would guess. Well, all but. Realistically, it's the ball is very much in your court.
Definitely, I think that would be, especially if that was appealed. I think that is the constructors secured for pretty much either secured or on the border of pretty much being secured constructors for the Mercedes team.
I'm pretty sure it is secured because I think all I needed was to score 11 points, and then that would get the championship. So yeah, happy about that. And also, well, most importantly, the drivers' championship, because Jonah is in racing next week, he said. So this was very much his last week, and all I needed were the 3 points, and I got provisionally 18, or even if I even did finish P5, I got 10. So I guess either or, as the 2 championships done in Brazil, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, so a good day all round, regardless of what implication the penalties do or don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so any other feedback on the race? Any other comments? Anything to say, or is that it?
It was pretty much of a stalemate, to be honest, because I mean, at the beginning I was with Dragon, and then we were jostling for position, and then surprisingly he let me go quite easily, and then I have no idea what happened, but then he spun by himself behind, going side by side with Vinny, and then at the final corner he spun and then retired. And then after the pits, Crystal just ran away really, and I couldn't really do much. So I just, I'm in P4. I just nursed my tires, and then obviously I see Jonah crashing. That releases safety car, and with the softs, it gave some quite intense battles, I guess, for you guys to commentate on. Me going side by side with Crystal and then Eddie, and it was a chaotic end. But glad that it's over, and provisional P2 or P5. Is a good result.
Yeah, congratulations on that. Well done, and look forward to seeing you in Abu Dhabi. So looks either way that you're the champion. So well done on that.
Thank you.
So is that a Mercedes? Is that a Hamilton champion of the world? I hear.
I second, yeah.
But
Yeah, worth pointing out actually, you've taken both the Tier 2 Drivers' Championships in the history of 2SRL. First the inaugural season, now this one, the second one. Well, pending obviously Jonah turning up, but even if he does, most likely it's yours if you score points. So
I mean, this is F1, you don't know.
yeah, you can't say for sure, but most likely it is yours.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So let's not talk about it any further to jinx it, but well done today. Great results, and hopefully you can continue that form next week.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, man.
Bye, mate.
Yeah. So
Who is gonna be next
doesn't
on-
seem to be anyone else looking for interviews. Maybe we'll see if we can get Larson in for an interview, but he's not in the channel at the moment. Just gonna ask him now. Doesn't seem to be interested in interviews, so
It's not a
no
problem.
one else popping in. I think maybe we can end it there.
Sounds like a plan to me. It has been a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you, Pixel, for joining me. I believe
no worries, man.
the next race, of course, for Tier 2 will be the same time next week here on the EGL YouTube channel. It will be Abu Dhabi. And the next race is, or what tier comes next? Do we have anything on later on this week?
2SRL Tier 1 is going live in just over half an hour.
Oh wow! So that's
Shout out for your boy Pixel. Let's get some points. Let's go.
I'll be very excited to see that. But yeah, once again, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully, you'll be able to hear from me more in the future. It's been great, and I look forward to the future. Thank you for joining us here tonight and the 2SRL Tier 2. It's been a pleasure. Take care of yourself. Have a good night.